everybody, and welcome back to beautiful Lake Winnipeg. We're on the hunt for some greenbacks, and at least today, if I don't catch a bunch of fish, there's gonna be a lot of information, as I have the Eskimo 2400 ESKAPE behind me. Now, yes, I know a lot of people fish in these. They fish in hubs, they fish in flipovers, shacks, ice castles, but there's not a lot of people that do overnights in a two-man flip up. And that's what we're here to do today. So if anything else, come along the journey. Hopefully we'll catch some fish, and I'm gonna give you a full review of the tent and a whole bunch of my mods, how I do everything from my heater setup to my lights, you know, rod holders, etc. So yeah, let's get some holes drilled. I'm not gonna be setting up the overnight for a little bit, so hopefully we'll be able to get on some fish. And until then, yeah, let's get out of the cold, let's get out of the snow and get on some fish. All right, so one of the biggest questions I always have is, how do I heat my setup? As you know, for the last couple of years, I've switched everything to diesel heaters. I've used a whole bunch of different companies, and this year I've been partnered with HCALROY. So this diesel heater is a 5 or 8 kilowatt. There's a whole bunch of discrepancies on if it's actually an 8 kilowatt, but yeah, HCALROY's done a really good job with this setup. They've made it all one unit. I really do like that they have a plug-in on the front, and it actually comes with a 110 connector. So that way, if you're gonna be plugging it inside, you can just plug it into the wall and have it work as well. There's a couple of really unique things I like about this one, is that the control panel on this side over here, just a little control panel, it is Bluetooth operated, so you can use it on your phone. And like I said, as we go through the night, I'm gonna show you a little bit of this and go a little bit more in depth with it. But I think one of the best things I like what they did about this diesel heater is, if you look at the back here, they actually have a 90-degree output for the exhaust. Now that's a huge benefit for me, because with the exhausts, usually you had to go underneath and put the exhaust in. This one here, it's already there. I literally can just slide it right on top. Sorry, it's really cold right now and it's snowy and slippery. I can slide it right on top and it just sits there. That is a huge benefit for me. Take that out for now. Because it just makes setup that much easier. Now I have modified this slightly. I have put an intake and exhaust port a little bit higher on that, so that way I can take my venting and put it right on. Now, one of the big things with diesel heaters is that they still produce carbon monoxide, so you still got to be careful. You got to have a carbon monoxide detector. And the other thing you always have to keep in mind, and that's kind of why I did my intake on the back here, my hose connects this into the tent, because if you have your exhaust out here and the wind changes, that could technically take that exhaust and pump it through your air intake. That's just gonna circulate through your tent, and that is no good. So yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth with this. I just want to give you a quick little look on this HCALROY. Now the good thing is I've bugged them a little bit and they gave me a code. It's called REAL10OFF. So basically at 10% discount. I'll put the Amazon link in the description below as well. So if you're looking at getting a diesel heater, I do recommend this one. I've been using this for the last year. I haven't done a lot of reviews on it because I really want to test it out before I said anything about it. So yeah, I'll put the code right here as well, and you can get yourself 10% off on these HCALROY diesel heaters as well. So it's actually really cold outside. I'm gonna hook this all up. I'm gonna do a little view on how I hook this up through the tent as well. So yeah, let's get this hooked up to the tent. Let's get in the tent and get warm. So starting off with the inside, now this is where it becomes a little bit tricky, because there's so many different options, different ways to do this. A lot of this is personal preference. So play around with it, have a little bit of fun with it, try different things. I used this pipe here. It actually has the register cover on the end, as you can see, a little clip that's gonna attach to my center pole. And then this is gonna be the port where my hot air comes in from. I really like the fact that the hot air is up on top. Yes, it's nice to cool the air below, but it's a lot easier to keep the air hot, and as it goes down, it really regulates that temperature well. Now, the only unfortunate thing with this is I did cut 2 holes in the back of my sled. I'm gonna give you a look on how I do all that, that piping as well. Some people may not like that. There's a whole bunch of different ways. You can go through the skirting and stuff as well. This is just how I do it. So feel free to comment below if you think I'm an idiot, but whatever else, I've been doing this for the last couple of years. It's worked really well. Now, the cool thing about having this little latch is just one of those boat oar clips, is that I put this in the hole at the bottom, just like so, and that's it. It just clips to that center pole. So now that's there. I can change this vent for whatever way I want. The best thing is, in the middle of the night, if you do get a little chilly, you put the vent right here. This is where my bed's gonna be. Oh, you get that nice little bit of warm breeze, keeps you very toasty at night. So let's get on the outside. I'm gonna show you how to hook up the diesel heater. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit unique, a little bit strange, and this is where your creative side can come out. Feel free to roast me in the comments below. I have a couple of these 3-inch vent connectors. They're a little bit tougher to find because mostly you're gonna find 4-inch, but I know I got these from Canadian Tire. I do have one long one and one short one. The long one I usually keep for my return, and that one I just spread out, stretch out a little bit like this. Jams in there. I have a little connector that I made out of a couple PVC connectors here. That jams in, this turns, and pushes right in. Sorry, I have my screwdriver in there. Pushes right in like that. Now that's just gonna stay like that. And now for the actual hot portion, I have this smaller vent. Now this is not the best way to do it, but like I said, this is how I've done it. I have a big rubber coupling that actually fits over top of this connector here, that connector there. This is really bent because I use it all the time. This will slide back a bit. This will jam into that black connector there, as far as I can go. And of course bent, and onto the intake there. I'll give you a little bit of a look here. So just like that, that's the easiest way I have it. Of course, I didn't put the exhaust on yet. That's gonna be facing out the other way as well. But yeah, pretty easy setup. Now, the other thing I always recommend is it does come with a teeny little cable that you can hook up. It almost looks like a computer plug, and I'll show you which one I mean. That's gonna be this one here. One of these style connectors. This actually plugs in over on this side here. I made a really, really long one because this is gonna go under my skirting all the way inside to the tub, where this is going to be powered by my 60 amp Dakota lithium. Now, I sometimes run my 135. A 60 amp Dakota lithium will for sure easily be able to run you a couple days. I have actually ran this off of 23 for a single day. There's a whole bunch of different options. Like say for fuel consumption, this thing will probably go through a tank. I believe it's 5 liters in about 10, 11 hours. So it's really not that much. I'll fill it up when I go to bed. I'll fill it up when I get up. That's about it. So let's get this plugged in, let's get this thing started, and I'll show you how it works. All right, so now that we got everything all hooked up, I mean, I haven't put the exhaust on yet, I'll do that in a second. We want to fill up the diesel heater. Now, I don't like to travel or recommend traveling with it in there because this gas does have, or the gas cap does have a little vent hole in it. And if it's splashed around, sometimes it can come out there, and the next thing you know, the whole inside of the box is smelling like diesel. So I know a lot of people do complain as well about filling these tanks. Like, oh, I get diesel on my hands. I've been doing this for a couple years. I'd say maybe once or twice when I'm not paying attention it does, but other than that, just fill it up, use caution. You can always bring some gloves as well. Now this thing is super, super efficient. I think this is about 5 liters on the can, like in the built-in tank. So this will last about 10 to 11 hours on high. That's on max. That's pretty dang good. I usually carry this little 10 liter jerry can. I sometimes fill it up, sometimes I have half. I've yet to go through this in an overnight. So yeah, it's very, very efficient with diesel as well. So let's fill that up, let's get the lid on. I'm gonna get this all started up, and then we're gonna show you how that all works as well. Now I take the control module here, push the start button. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on here, but there. That's about it. Now it's gonna run through all its phases, get it all warmed up, get the glow plug warm, and then it's gonna start heating. Now, one thing I would love for you guys to be 100% honest with me is let me know if you think it's too loud. So many guys are complaining, oh, it's too loud and stuff like that as well. Outside, it can be a little bit loud. I'm gonna be right close to the exhaust, so I'm gonna let you kind of hear how it is when it starts up. And then of course, when you go on the inside on the video as we're fishing, let me know, just like say, just put a comment below if you think it's too loud. There's gonna always be a little bit of a hum, but I think that little bit of a hum really offsets having such a nice, clean, dry heat. So right now it's pretty quiet. The fans are just kicked in. All that's doing is just circulating the air, and then the glow plug is getting to temperature. That's where it's gonna eat up the most of your power. After that, the fan usage is very, very small on power usage. So it's really actually quite efficient. It's just more or less that starting power. Would I recommend using a 10 amp or a 23 amp? You can, but you're gonna get a very short run time. Let's say a 10 amp, you get maybe 3-4 hours out of it. A 23 amp, you can maybe get 6-7 hours. So I would always recommend at least like a 40 the 46, 50, 60. Like say I run the 60 Dakota lithium and I've never had an issue with it whatsoever. There. So when it first starts up, it's super loud. And the reason why is because all that diesel is hitting that glow plug and it's kind of exploding. The tank and everything else isn't all that hot. The combustion chamber isn't all that hot. So what's happening is once it gets to actual adequate temperature, it vaporizes a lot better and it's gonna run a lot quieter. So yeah, for now, she hums a little bit. Now, of course, I'm probably gonna get some comments on the fact that the exhaust is right here. It could be blowing against the tent if the wind changes. You can see it does have a little bit out here. I have the truck blocking some of the wind, but the wind is coming this way. It should be blowing out that way. But I'm gonna make sure I pack snow against all of this so that carbon monoxide can't get through. Right now it's kicking up to full speed. Then after it runs for about 15 minutes, it really starts to die down on that. So the rest of it, let's get the live scope in. Let's get some lines in the water, hopefully catch some fish. It's gonna get dark really soon. Then we're gonna do our overnight setup. But until then, I'm gonna give you some ideas on some mods we did on the inside. All right, everything's kind of set up. The heat is just pumping. It's actually getting really warm in here. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit because of course this little space doesn't need that much heat. But other than that, yeah, she's getting ready to go. Let's get some lines in. I'm not seeing any fish yet. I like to credit this spot to Mr. Jeremy Santos. He sent me this pin. So if we don't catch any fish, we can just blame him. Split bench. I'll get into that in a little bit. So the next really cool thing that I like to always recommend, these are from ARCLAB. I don't know if these are still called the Wingman or the micro Wingman or the small Wingmans, but these fit in the hub very well. Now they do have a multi-use platform. You can either put them so they're on the inside like this, or you can flip it and do it so it's on the outside. I really like it on the outside. It kind of pushes the tent out a little bit and gives you that little extra shoulder room. So I'll show you. Super easy to hook up. This goes here, clips out on your pole, clips in, slides down, and boom, instant shelf. Best place for minnows, phones, pliers, just like that. And I always put two on just in case, especially for the overnight. Sometimes I want to put stuff over there as well, but yeah, super nice. So while I'm waiting for fish, I'm gonna get to the obvious, something that so many people have asked, and that is this split bench. I used to have two of these, but we were in a pretty big windstorm the other day and one blew away. I apologize for the environment. I chased after it, couldn't find it, a little bit of a snowstorm. So I'm gonna put those away. Those are just from Princess Auto. I think they were like 16 bucks, and that works really well with this as well. Now, as you can see, this usually is a full bench that just goes all the way across. I had a little help from Mike at Two Rivers Boat Works. All we did was split it. A lot of people ask how I did it. Honestly, it's not all that hard. You basically have to, I mean, it's hard if you don't have the tools and materials, that's why I went to Mike. But basically you split the bench, you literally just cut a 1-inch section out of it. We put a little block here, put a bolt in between, and then just re-welded another piece onto here. That's it. Now for the cloth, I just put a kind of like an aluminum L bracket that's gonna hold all the material here as well. And the reason why I like that cushion is it does make it a little bit more comfortable. These aren't the greatest to sit on for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours at a time. It works, but eventually your butt does get a little sore. So these little pads fit absolutely perfect. This seam is actually exactly where it is. And I actually put one on the back here. I just wedged it in between the back of the bracket for the back, and then that just kind of sticks out the bottom. So yeah, other than that, I would have one here, and the good thing with this is if someone wants to get their tackle, you can do it. And the other good thing is when I'm doing my overnight, I can have my bed over here and still access anything I need underneath here. Questions? Put it in the comments below. That's easy. So right now the diesel heater is at max power and I'm sweating in here. So it's not super cold out. It's probably about -20, but that intake that does come into the tent does make a really big difference. Now the one really cool thing about this diesel heater is, I'll see if I can get this app up just to make sure that's all on. There we go. So that's the app here. Now the cool thing with this is you can change your temperature and stuff like that as well. I just go temperature up and down. I don't actually do an internal temperature because I just leave the thermostat outside. So right now I'm gonna turn it down to about half, like that. And then slowly you'll hear this kind of kick down a speed or two. Let me know what you think. Is it too loud? I don't think so. All right, now I'm gonna grab my trusty phone and show you my rod holders. I've done this in a couple of videos, but this one's gonna give you a little bit better of a look here. So, as you can see, basically the third mark up from the top, you basically just find a bolt long enough to go all the way through, and you got yourself an instant rod holder. Makes it super easy. That's probably the best mod you can do to one of these things. I really do like them there. That way you can just plop them in and out. You're sitting here, you need to put them down, it can go there. If you're going in and out of your tent, it's a little bit of a nuisance because the fact you have to open up your tent and it's kind of in your way. I will be making some center ones, and when I do, of course, that'll be on a video. But yeah, I think it's a 2.5-inch bolt, and then you just put some shrink wrap tube in the center to prevent any wear and tear on your handle. But probably the easiest, cheapest mod. It does not affect your hinges or anything with the operation of the tent itself. Yeah, those are really cool. Probably the best mod ever. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. No, I don't even see him. Like, he's there, but he's going after the rattle. There we go. There we go. First fish of the day. As long as it doesn't get caught on that ice. Boom! Boom! First fish of the day is a 24-inch first fish. I can't complain to Santos now because we got one fish. Boom. I didn't even see that fish coming. That one just came in right off the ground and smashed it. This one was on a frostbite. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, missed it. Come on, buddy. Little sauger. No one's seen these yet. I'm not showing anyone until I'm done. I might give you guys a quick little glimpse of them, but so I do have a new set of lights that I've been working with. It's kind of a demo or a project I've been kind of doing. Nothing against the Auto Pro LEDs. I would still recommend them. The only thing is the Auto Pro LEDs, they only have a 7-inch light throw. The ones I have are 13-inch. These ones are rigid. It's a hard case, which I kind of like better. Realistically, I don't really need the durability of being flexible. As long as you put them in a case or something like that, you keep them all together. I mean, if you slam them on the ground or step on them, yeah, of course you're gonna break them, but that happens with the Otters as well. The good thing with these is it still works on the Otter control box. Now, the other thing is that they're 100 lumens brighter per piece, and they actually use a lot less power. So I've talked to a couple of the YouTubers, see if they're gonna be interested. I might send them a couple things just to do a demo and test. So I'm not gonna give too much on my lighting, but realistically, Auto Pro LEDs kind of run the game. If not, maybe these will be a game changer. And if I do, I'll let you guys know. This is just for fun. Let's see what these got. Oh, yikes. And it's daytime out. And of course, probably one of the things I want to mention about 50 times, a carbon monoxide detector. Now, it depends on how you want to do it. I like to keep the carbon monoxide detector around head height. Like I said, some people think that the carbon monoxide sits low, some people think it's set high. I like to have it around that head height because that's the air that I'm breathing. So when I go to bed, that's where I have it. I actually test mine out every single time before I go to bed just to make sure that it's on there. I'm not super concerned. This thing has been really good, but people make mistakes, machines make mistakes, they can fail. So this is an easy first line of defense. Now, there is a little bit of controversy with carbon monoxide detectors as well because some of them only do a pulse setting, which means that it may only test the air once every 20 minutes. So it is something that you want to do some testing with, be comfortable with. Look at Amazon, look at other stores. There is a whole bunch of different options. Something I'm planning on doing in the future as well is looking at a whole bunch of different options. And if I do those different options for carbon monoxide detection, I will definitely let you know. But as far as I know, realistically, having something is better than nothing. Still keep your vents open, everything else. Make sure that your vents are going against the wind, or sorry, going away from the wind, just to be as safe as possible. So last thing we want to do is hear of another fatality because, like I said, overnight camping is fun, but it's also really serious. So first line of defense, carbon monoxide detector. These things also don't like the cold, so keep it in a warm spot. So now as we're talking about power, I do have my 60 amp Dakota Lithium behind here. That's gonna be doing the diesel heater. Sometimes I will run the 135 amp power box. This time the 135 amp power box is gonna be running all my electronics, my mic, my camera, my live scope, and yeah, my lights above as well. So I'm gonna turn this on and I'll give you a quick little look at this Dakota power box as well. This is the box. It is pretty heavy. I gotta admit, it's a little bit of a beast, but honestly, if you're going in overnight, that's something you'll never have to worry about. The battery is placed under here. Of course, that is a 135 amp battery, which is awesome. That's gonna do way more than you're ever gonna need. And then you have your little inverter here. Turn that on. So that's gonna show everything that you need to know. It does have 2 plugins on the sides for 110, and it has 4 USB outlets as well. So yeah, that's a really, really cool thing about this. It's in a nice little compact case. It does float. I do have a video about it floating on the river as well. But by far, this is always gonna be not just a contingency or backup plan. This thing is gonna be running my whole tent all the time. I've used this in overnights during summer, during winter. I keep it on my boat if we're doing an island camp. By far, having enough power source between this and solar panel, you just can't beat it. You never have to worry about losing that power, and if all else fails, you have some sort of emergency backup because you can actually jumpstart a car with this thing as well. So yeah, that's the 135 amp power box. I'll put the description below for all the Dakota products as well, the 135 and the 60. But any kind of batteries, like say, is just more or less, there's no such thing as having too much power. It's not too dark yet, but it's 3:42. It usually gets dark at just after 4. So I'm gonna start loading some stuff in here. I'm gonna move some stuff around, get a couple of the tiles that are underneath my live scope and stuff, and get that all set up in the corner. So that way when I wanna put my bed, that's all gonna be there. So you're gonna have a little bit of a different view. The other thing is, the holes I have centered here usually lines up with those red connectors. That's a really good indication. That's usually how long rods are. That's, for me, that's a comfortable distance. Now the good thing is the bed's gonna go just barely over top of the transducer. That hole's gonna not be used, and I'm only gonna be using 1 hole. I don't really wanna be using 2 holes while fishing in the on the overnight, just because, yeah, with everything set up, you're gonna see it's a little bit tighter. I still have enough room for 1 full seat here because the bed only takes up 1 seat, but overall, that 1 hole is not gonna make that much of a difference. I have done it where I've done 2 holes, 1 on the front, 1 on the back. They're just so close that if you do get a fish, they get tangled up anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna start getting some of those tiles in, maybe do some of the flooring, move my live scope over, maybe start getting set up for the night. All right, so first thing I like to do is set up my holes. Now, I'm only gonna be doing this corner of mats because I don't want the whole thing totally done yet, because of course they get wet, walking in and out, fish getting on, I'm constantly cleaning them. So all I'm gonna do is that far corner, so that way if I wanna put my bed in, everything else is all set up. I am gonna leave my transducer hole in the center, of course, so that's why I'll use one of these tiles. I use one of these tiles because usually I have another tile that has another hole that's cut, and that's actually gonna be your 3 holes that are set in the tent. But because it's just a transducer, I don't need that whole hole exposed, especially as being another spot for you to drop something down. So I basically just put another tile like this. Your transducer can still sit in the center here. You don't really need all that room. Plus you get that little extra coverage to prevent something from falling down the hole. This is gonna be the only one I'm gonna be fishing out of. That's all I need. And there we go. You have 3 across, the 1 hole there. The reason why I don't put that one in there is because I'm gonna be changing that up. And then that one's gonna get covered with the beds. So leave the other ones just sitting in here, and then I'll do the rest of the floor when I'm ready for bed. So now we're gonna get a little bit different view. Like I said, my camera and stuff is set up on that corner. That's facing kind of, well, as you can tell, this way. Bed's gonna go right over here, and then I'll have my fishing area over here. Get pretty pumped. Some people think it's a lot of work. I don't know. It can be, but once you do it a couple times, it's pretty quick and easy to do. And realistically, this is a hobby for me. This is something I like doing. It's something that's a little bit more unique, and you don't get a lot of people that can experience it. So that's why I love doing it. If I could spend any more time outside rather than inside, that's good for me. Got a little fish coming in. I'm not sure if it's gonna go after the... Never mind. It will go after the rattle. So far, rattle 2. Jig a minnow, nothing. Saw guy, actually. All right, while I'm sitting here waiting, I don't know what else I can show you. Like I said, I have a custom light set up. Like if I do end up kind of producing these, it's only gonna be custom base only, but there's not much to say about the shack. I guess I can do a little review on the 2400 since I've had it You know, I've had it for a couple years now and I love it. The best thing is it does have a small footprint. There's only really room for 2 people in a single person. I mean, this is plenty of room. But the best thing is you can easily unload it and load it yourself, and there's still a ton of room. Like, there's so much space here. I know I'm not that big of a guy, and realistically, I could probably sleep this way. But yeah, the tent so far has been very durable. I've had nothing that's broken. It's always worked. Even with a little bit of ice on the runners, it seems to work really well. I've towed it behind a sled. Yeah, and I mean, still looks pretty damn new to me. And this gets used all the time.
Well, what is going on? Welcome back to Clayton Schick Outdoors. Of course, I'm Clayton Schick.
And this is the outdoors. There we go. Keeping us entertained though. So the floor is pretty basic. I just did 3 holes all the way across, a hole in the center of each tile. This does take 9 tiles. So if this goes all the way back against the sled, it'll be 9 tiles for the 2400 series. Now I do like to leave a little gap of snow on the inside, and that's more or less just so I can keep my drinks and stuff like that, minnows and stuff, keep it a little bit cooler. But it depends on if it's a really cold day, I will push the sled right up and actually have the mats underneath slightly. That way it's completely covered and it stays really warm. Now, as you can tell, this is where it becomes more of a customizable thing. This is a custom bed that I made out of aluminum C channel, and these slats are actually from IKEA, just an IKEA bed. Now, I had to do a whole bunch of little research, a whole bunch of different trial and errors on how to kind of fix that. And the only way I could do it is, I don't know if you can see from there, it's kind of tight in here. There's a little plastic ledge on the back here. This is just like a puckboard material. And what that's gonna do, I'll move this to the side here. What that's gonna do is actually sit into this aluminum channel that I made over here. So this is aluminum C channel, that board is gonna fit right into here. That's gonna make it completely flat from the bed all the way up to the bench. Now, the other thing I've made is this bench back will actually go all the way down, like completely flat. So if you are taller, you can actually sleep all the way through. I'm short, so I don't need to. So I just leave this here, and it's also nice to have a little bit of a backstop for your pillows. So a couple other things you'll need to get. These are also some table legs from IKEA. They just screw in, they have some pretty good bases to them, and I'll show you how that all works as well. So on the back of these do come with these big brackets. Those are base plates that usually attach to a table, because that's the kind of legs I'm using. Now, the reason why I went with these legs is because they do have a small adjustable foot on the bottom. You can adjust it maybe an inch or 2, so that way, at least if you're sitting on crooked ice, you can sleep a little bit more soundly. And this just screws in. So I have one on each side. Tighten it up really good. This one goes on. Tighten that one up really good. Move that over here for now. And now the fun part. This is the part that took me forever, absolutely forever to do. Now, the hardest part about this whole build is I made this actual whole bed system be able to fit underneath this bench and into the sleigh. So that way, if you are taking it on a sled or something like that, like I've taken it in my truck, of course, but if you're taking it on a sled, then you can actually fit this all into the sled without using too much space. So now all I do is I pick this up, move it over, and slide it right into this little U channel right there. There you go, that's my bed. Now this is actually gonna sit all the way completely flat with this. So once I get my pad on here and everything else, put my pillows, my sleeping bag, tons and tons of room. But one of the big things that you have to do, you have to get when you're doing it overnight, is a good sleeping pad. This is a MEC Reactor 6.5. Now 6.5 doesn't mean it has 6.5 R rating. It's actually a 5 R rating, which is super, super high for a sleeping pad. I've had this thing for 3 years now and it's been unbelievable. It is a blow up. It does have a foam backing to it, but you still have to inflate it. It says self-inflatable, but when you open it up, it doesn't actually fully inflate. So we're gonna get this all up. We're gonna put this down. I'm gonna show you the length of it. It actually fits on here pretty well. And then I'll show you the next step. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but the reason why I designed my heat output like this, like in a snorkel style, is because before it get trapped behind the seat and you wouldn't really get the full benefit of the heat. Now the other thing is I added one of these circular register covers, and it moves. So the good thing is during the day, I have it facing up, and that's gonna keep the air going up and around. It actually keeps it really nice and warm. But at night, when you wanna turn it down, or if you just wanna get some extra heat, you can turn this facing down like this. Now it's blowing directly on you. So I like to sleep cold. That doesn't happen very often, but yeah, all the little things that come out of this melon, I tell you. So the next thing is going to get the blankets and pillows, and that's about it for the bed setup. Next is just sitting here and fishing the rest of the night. Now, as for sleeping bags, it honestly doesn't matter. I think this thing is like 10 or 12 years old. I don't even know where I got it. Could have been from a garage sale or something, but it's one of my favorite sleeping bags. And it's super warm. The only info I could give to any of you guys if you're looking at getting a sleeping bag is try to get one with these little hoods on them. These hoods make a really big difference, not so much when you have a backing like this, but if you're on a regular cot, the good thing with these hoods is you can take your pillow and jam it in there. So that way, it doesn't fall off the cot. This way, not too worried about it. Still nice. I leave my pillows like this. There, overnight in a flip over, in a 2-man flip over. It can be done, and I still have some pretty good room. If I wanted to, I could probably put this hole here, another hole here, and have my live scope underneath the other hole under the bed. But this is how I do it. And I'll give you a couple little shots throughout the night of how this all looks as well. But yeah, it's just that easy to do an overnight with whatever you have. I'd like to thank you all for joining me on my overnight, keeping me a little company. I get a little lonely on the ice here. That's why I end up talking to myself a lot. Which is good because I talk to myself at home anyway. And this is why I think YouTubers are nuts. They go nuts. Because we're by ourselves all the time. We talk to tablets, we talk to laptops, we talk to televisions. Well, good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. And I gotta admit, this is probably one of the more unique nights / mornings I've had in a while. And that's because I had no bells. I've seen no fish whatsoever. So when I got that 24-25 at the beginning of the day, I thought it would be a great spot. But hey, that's fishing. At least I was able to get out here and kind of show you my overnight setup. If anything else, be safe. Have a carbon monoxide detector. Go try new lakes. Go try new stuff. Try new setups. It's just nice to be able to be out on the ice. I have to admit, some of my best times, some of my best sleeps are on the ice. So with that all being said and done, like I said, if you have any questions, put a comment below. I'll try to answer them. Be safe on the ice. If you see someone stuck, go help them out. And until we catch you again, keep it real.